What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Another week, another dollar, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not making dollars quite yet, but we're getting there.
I had a pretty good weekend.
Yes, sir.
March Madness and Full Tilt. How's the bracket?
It sucks. I think I had too many upsets, and it's messed with my bracket. I think this is the first year I saw that a team higher than a 12 seed has not won in the first round since 2017. So 13, 14, 15, and 16 seed have gone unwinning this year. I think I had like one or two of those. And that kind of screwed me with. But my natties are still in there. I still got Florida. They're my guys.
Yeah. I don't think I had anything above a 12 winning. I got Colorado State. I did not have McNeese State. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I kind of liked a lot of the favorites this year. The round of 32 did not pan out that well for me. I lost UConn, which was in my Final Four on my my Auburn championship bracket. So that actually ESPN has me 0% chance, or no, actually it's interesting. My other bracket that I have Duke winning is actually the one that ESPN tells me with their forecast model. The Duke bracket has 0% chance to win. It says I can't win my pool that I'm in, even though I have all four of my Final Four teams left, and I am ranked number 4 right now, overall, and in max points I'm tied for second. So, I get why, because the person that is in first with max points also has Duke winning and presumably has the exact same Final Four. So, that's probably why. But, yeah, my Auburn bracket's still hanging in there. That one, though, was the one that I had UConn in the Final Four. So, got Duke, Auburn, and Tennessee left in my Final Four in that one, but took a lot of shots in the round of 32 for sure. That kind of hurt the chances, but we're sitting at a 0.5% chance to win overall.
Hey, weirder things have happened.
Yeah, just hope Auburn wins. Let's keep it in the SEC. My championship is Auburn, Tennessee for that one. So, anyways, enough basketball talk. Let's get into we got UFL week 1. Guys, football's back. Football is back officially on Friday. UFL week 1, 2025. We got the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Houston Roughnecks matching up on Friday. We'll give you our picks for that game on Friday because we didn't have enough time to make them today, but we'll give you all the picks. Start our pick standings UFL. I know you and Logan thoroughly enjoy picking UFL. But yeah, we'll talk that on Friday. I'm gonna do a little bit of a preview today, just roster wise, since I wanted to get that kind of out of the way. We'll also give our championship picks as well on Friday. So, nothing too major with the UFL, but technically there is breaking news with the UFL. Just over the last couple of days, wild, the coaching movement in the UFL. We're now 6 days away from some teams starting their season. Some other teams are 5. You know, the Battlehawks and the Roughnecks, they're 4 days away. But 2 head coaching switches this close to the season starting. First one, and of course, they both have my teams, right? DC Defenders head coach Reggie Barlow stepping down, not really stepping down, moving on. He has been hired as Eddie George's replacement at Tennessee State as the new head coach for the Tennessee State Tigers. So Reggie Barlow moves from pro to college, and we'll see how that works out. But interesting one. A lot of people thought defensive coordinator. Oh, why am I blanking on his name right now? The Saints guy.
Was he the interim head coach this year?
No, the Saints defensive coordinator.
Staley? Or
No,
the previous one?
Greg Williams.
Oh.
Bountygate. Greg Williams.
Oh yeah. Love that guy.
Anyways, a lot of people thought Greg Williams would be the interim because of I believe the most veteran coach they have on the staff and highly respected in the building. And DC's defense has been really solid every year so far that he's been there. So, but no, it is going to be QB coach Shannon Harris as the interim head coach. Now, I don't know too much about Shannon Harris, and there's not even a Wikipedia about him, so I can't even for sure tell you his stops along the way. It looks like he coached at Hampton. Here we go. Hampton and Virginia State. He coached 7 years at Tennessee State. Okay. So he worked with the DC Defenders offensive coordinator, Fred Keiss, at Tennessee State. So familiar with the offense already. Interesting one for sure, though. It looks like he graduated in 2004, so decently young guy still. Alabama State, he was there as well. Virginia State, like I said, but yeah, it's been a couple different places, and hopefully Coach Harris can get to defend the DMV for sure. The most recent one, just today, I believe it was, Memphis Showboats head coach Ken Wisenhunt. He was coming into his first year as the head coach here, and he is stepping down for personal reasons. Offensive line coach Jim Turner going to be the interim head coach there. So, again, I have nothing for you on Jim Turner. Yeah. 3-decade plus career as a run game coordinator and O-line coach. So, experienced for sure. Texas A&M, Texas Tech. Oh, does he have a Wikipedia page? Yeah, he does. Here we go. Yeah, so he's been a coach a long time. 60 years old. Started out offensive assistant in high school at 88. Then Northwestern. He's been at Northwestern, Louisiana Tech, Harvard, Temple, Tennessee State, Delaware, Boston College, Texas A&M, the Dolphins, the Bengals, the New Orleans Breakers in the USFL, and the Memphis Showboats. So yeah, Jim Turner been around for sure. And Shannon Harris does have a Wikipedia page. Let's get it. Tennessee State, he was there a while. Wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks coach. Alabama State, Alcorn State, he was wide receivers coach. Offensive coordinator for a couple years at Tennessee State. Was the offensive coordinator of Virginia State as well. Interim head coach at Virginia State. And then the last 2 years, the quarterbacks coach, DC Defenders. So that's good, though, to see that he does have some head coaching experience, even in an interim capacity. And it makes me feel better that he's been an offensive coordinator a couple different places. It's kind of a different thing, though, with Jim Turner, where it's like he's never been a coordinator, but he has a lot longer resume and experience than Shannon Harris does. So I don't know. I just think it's super detrimental to both teams to lose their head coach the week of the opening game. So, especially DC, Reggie Barlow, excellent head coach. We haven't seen Ken Wisenhunt as a head coach in a long time, but I was excited for him nonetheless to be in Memphis. All right, let's get to the cuts. So we had cut down day last week as the teams got to 50 and notable cuts here. So starting off the Battlehawks, wide receiver Andy Isabella, tight end Kamari Averett, offensive lineman Eric Magwood and Teton Saltis, edge rusher Kamoko Ture, defensive back Keelan Kennedy, and safety Drayvon Askew Henry. So some NFL names there for sure. Isabella and Ture. I know the consensus pretty much in the spring football community was they were shocked kind of that those NFL guys got cut in Isabella and Kamoko Ture. So, but nonetheless, Drayvon Askew Henry as well has been a solid player for a couple different teams in the UFL. Michigan Panthers running back Toa Tawa, offensive lineman J.D. Duplain, defensive lineman Keontae Shad, linebacker Raylan Goforth, defensive back Keontae Harden, and safety Corian Ballard. I was shocked with Corian Ballard. He had been a mainstay on the Michigan secondary for quite a while. And, moving forward without him there. It's interesting because some of these guys, I haven't looked into it totally. Some of the guys that were cut, in air quotes there, weren't actually cut. They were just moved off the roster. Some to IR, some to off the roster because they did not report. So it's interesting because some of these guys are potentially still on the roster. They're just on IR. Or like Dawood Davis, which was one of the cuts for the Memphis Showboats, wide receiver there, their leading wide receiver the last couple of years. He was cut because of injury. So that's another factor that a lot of these guys get cut injury-wise, and the team's going to bring him back later. The Stallions, looking for a three-peat this year. They cut wide receiver Joseph Ngata, tight end Marcus Ball, guard Matt Farniak, linebackers JoJo Doman and Elijah Sullivan, defensive back Neville Clark, and safeties Juju Hughes and Quantrez Knight. Ngata, a guy that I really thought was going to make the roster. Loved watching him at Clemson. Sucks that JoJo Doman got cut. He landed on his feet, though, pretty quickly with the Arlington. No, it was it with who did he land with? I thought he landed with someone pretty quickly, but I might be wrong. Anyways, JoJo Doman kind of sucked because he never really got a shot. He got cut. He got signed by Birmingham pretty late in the offseason, so didn't really get a chance. But NFL guy for sure, played with the Colts for a couple years. And Neville Clark's crazy one that he got cut. He's been excellent in spring football with the New Orleans Breakers and then the Memphis Showboats, Birmingham Stallions as well. Speaking of Memphis Showboats, not as many notable cuts, but running back Dwayne McBride, your guy, 7th round of the Vikings a couple years ago. And then wide receivers Dawood Davis, Joseph Skates, and Sam Pinkney all cut by Memphis. Houston, the Roughnecks, running back TJ Pledger, offensive lineman Ryan Pope and Isaiah Battle, defensive lineman Christian Sokolai, linebacker Ben Davis, safety Jack Corner, and kicker JJ Molson. So JJ Molson injured, that's why he got cut. The crazy one was TJ Pledger. I think they're bringing him back though. Leading rusher last year, Pledger, solid player. DC Defenders, wide receiver Lynn Bowden Jr., tight end Devin Asiasi, offensive lineman DJ Fluker and John Yarborough, center Charles Turner III, defensive ends Quincy Roche and Nelson Caesar, linebacker Brandon Boyer Randall, corner Adam Sparks, and safety Josh Proctor. So just the top there, the top three guy NFL experience galore there. Lynn Bowden, Devin Asiasi, and DJ Fluker trying to resurrect his career at age 34, I believe he is. But yeah, those guys, I was really shocked none of them made it. I was also kind of shocked Charles Turner didn't make it. I really liked him at LSU, undrafted in 2023. Hasn't made an impact in pro football yet. The other big surprising one was another NFL guy, Quincy Roche. A lot of people thought he would make the DC roster, and all for naught there. The San Antonio Brahmas wide receivers Jalen Gill and Ty Freifogel, center Alex Pilstrom, defense tackle Jalen Twyman, and edge rusher Zach McLeod. I heard some people were surprised Ty Freifogel didn't make it. Great player out of Indiana. And I was surprised edge rusher Zach McLeod got cut. He had been one of the top edge rushers for San Antonio the last couple of seasons. And finally, Bob Stoops squad, the Arlington Renegades, wide receiver Jawan Manigo, tight end Matt Seibert, offensive tackle Spencer Rowland, linebacker Vince DeLeo, corner Delonte Hood, corner Mekhi Garner, and safety Brady Breeze. The surprising ones with Arlington were the secondary guys there. Garner, experienced NFL guy. Delonte Hood had been a pretty solid player for Arlington. And really shameful Brady Breeze didn't make it. I really enjoyed Brady Breeze coming out of Oregon a couple years ago and was not able to stick on Arlington. A couple waivers, though. A couple of these guys landed on their feet. One of those was guard Matt Farniok, cut from Birmingham. He has landed with the Arlington Renegades. And Roughnecks, they claimed kicker Chris Blewett from the Michigan Panthers was in a battle with B.T. Potter, the kicker out of Clemson, and lost that position battle. The Panthers cut him and claimed off waivers by Houston, who luckily for them, luckily they got Blewett because of the J.J. Molson injury there. On one signing to mention, the Arlington Renegades, they have re-signed running back Davion Smith, leading rusher for them. Really great player, and we'll see what impact he can have just coming in this late in the offseason, even though he already knows the offense and everything like that. All right, NFL news. How about an interesting one from, I think it was Pro Football Focus today? Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua announcing that he will retire at 30. So 7 years away from that. But it's kind of wild to come out and say that nonetheless.
Oh.
Couple re-signings here. The Chiefs, they re-signed defensive end Charles Omenihu, 1 year, $7 million max deal there. Really solid rotational player for them. They also re-signed defense tackle Mike Pennell. The Panthers, they re-signed safety Nick Scott on a 1 year deal, and the Saints re-signing safety Ugo Amadi to a 1 year deal as well. Couple other signings, free agent signings here. The Saints, they signed Cowboys wide receiver Brandon Cooks, 2 year, $13 Back where it all started, 2014 first-round pick of the New Orleans Saints. Traded for a first-round pick twice in his career, and still going in his 30s now.
Yeah, him and new teammate Chris Olave now have a monopoly on head injuries for wide receivers. So makes a ton of sense. I don't think he lasts 4 games without Derek Carr throws the ball.
Yeah, well, is Derek Carr even on the field? That's the question.
Oh, good point.
The Chargers, they signed Jets tight end Tyler Conklin, a 1-year, $3 million deal, $4.5 million max value there. Pretty solid deal. Kicking the tires on a player that has had a lot of hype lately or before, and really hasn't panned out, as I'm sure multiple people in fantasy football can attest to. Texans, they continue to try to rebuild the O-line there, signing Bengals offensive tackle Trent Brown, 1 year, $3 million. So that's an interesting one. Injured most of the year last year with Cincinnati, and get another shot here with Houston, and he's gonna slide right in left tackle spot.
Makes sense.
The Giants, they got a quarterback. They signed Browns quarterback Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal. So yeah, Jameis, they don't got to draft one now, Jimmy. They don't got to draft one.
At least not this coming year.
Jameis is the guy. No, they should still draft one.
Probably not a 3rd overall, considering. I mean, unless Shador and Cam Ward are not taken at that point.
The Giants are not. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think they'd want a guy like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe?
Well, yeah, I mean that's an option at 34 for sure.
I was like, I mean, none of those guys at 2nd overall.
But yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see. the mock draft sim never has it that way. It never has 2 quarterbacks going. So the Giants always have an option, but then they never draft. They'd have to tackle instead, usually. The Giants also signed Broncos wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey to a 1-year deal. So getting some weaponry there. What is up, our guy John Babington?
You guys hear me?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
we do.
We're almost to the mock. We're getting through free agency here real quick.
Don't forget that big tight end splash signing by Seattle.
Yeah, we're getting to it. The Bengals, they signed Saints guard Lucas Patrick to a 1-year deal. Veteran offensive lineman there. Bengals trying to solidify the interior there. Eagles, they got another O-lineman. Signed Dolphins tackle Kendall Lamb, 1-year deal. So another disciple into the Jeff Stoutland University there, matriculating. The Seahawks, yep, they signed a Dolphins wide receiver River Craycraft, John.
Yo, yeah. That was this weekend, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Titans, they signed Patriots kicker Joey Sly, ending the run from Nick Folk in Tennessee there. Excellent couple years for Nick Folk, and we'll see. I don't know. He might be done. I mean, he's getting there for sure. Mm-hmm. Still playing well though. The Saints, they signed Titans offensive lineman Dylan Radins there. The Seahawks had a visit with him, and New Orleans got him though, John.
Yeah, I don't know what our guy Johnny is doing. Seattle lost out on Lucas Patrick, Tevin Jenkins, Dylan Radins, the 3 linemen they brought in.
Jeez.
And these guys are signing for like I think what Patrick signed for like $1.5 million. Like
I didn't have the
money. That's tough change.
Yeah, I didn't have the financials on those guys. And then finally, the Seahawks signing 49ers tight end Eric Salbert today. So good H-back option.
I was going to say that might be like more of a fullback H-back guy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, when the 49ers re-signed Kyle Juszczyk, they were like, well, we don't need Eric Salbert anymore. So
excuse the sirens. You're just hearing what it's like in Albuquerque.
Or after
a couple visits to mention. The Steelers finally hosting Aaron Rodgers, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, for a visit. I don't know. I'm still not sold, people. I have been, and I think I continue to be, one of the few people on the Russell Wilson return train. But it does not look very good for that so far. We will see. And then the Panthers, they hosted Colt safety Julian Blackmon. Shocked this guy's still available. I mean, this guy's 26 years old. Why is this guy still available? I don't know. I think he's a pretty good player. Hopefully Carolina can get him signed. Dan Morgan, get the job done. And yeah, there is no other news. I'll do the UFL preview after the mock, so John doesn't have to sit through that. All right, let's get to the here it was. Let's get to the Bengals Seahawks mock draft. The Bengals, all three of their own picks, 17, 49, 81. Seahawks with a plethora of picks, 5 top 100 selections, 18th, 50. They got 52 in the DK Metcalf trade, 82 and 92 was the Lions pick. They got that in the Geno Smith trade with the Raiders.
I don't know about you guys. I'd rather have DK and Geno than all these picks.
Well, you're telling me you don't want Sam Darnold?
No, I'd happily rather have Geno.
All right.
Even at that contract.
All right, let's get in here. What do we got? Crazy one or not? Titans, Cam Ward. There it is. Browns, Will Campbell. See, I told you, Jimmy. Doesn't happen.
Never happens.
Armand Membu to the Giants. Abdul Carr to the Patriots. Jags going Travis Hunter. Raiders going Ashton Genty. Yep.
Jets going Shador Sanders. Oh,
nope.
no.
Mason Graham. Oh, Tedero McMillan. Saints coming up one spot. 9th and a 2nd next year. Tyler Warren to the Panthers. Let's get it. Shamar Stewart to the Bears. Kelvin Banks to the 49ers. Shador to the Cowboys. Woo!
That'd be a fun one.
Will Johnson to the Dolphins. Jalen Walker for the Colts. Tyler Booker, the Ravens coming up for the Alabama guard. Matthew Golden to the Cardinals. Hold on, Eagles. Ravens all the way up 27, 59, and 91. That's very costly. Can we unpack this thing here? How in the hell did we get Shador Sanders to the Cowboys? I mean, that's storybook right there, though. I mean, to go to the team that your dad played. I mean, that your dad is known for playing, I should say.
One of the teams he's known for playing for.
Oh, come on.
Right up there with
not
the
known for playing with Atlanta or San Francisco. It's the Cowboys, Dion, that everyone talks about.
Oh, no. I think of Atlanta. I think of when he came into the league, all swagged out, you know?
Oh, yeah. I think of him as
I also tend to think about like Hall of Fame stars with the original team. Like when I think Shaq, I kind of think Orlando, which is weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think of him as Lakers, though. 3 championships there. It's hard to argue.
Yeah, no, that's weird. I get
I'm surprised none of us said they think of Deion Sanders with the Cincinnati Reds. Now that was at the top of my mind.
Yeah.
Classic.
What about the Ravens, Deion Sanders?
Ooh, that was the other choice. It was either that or the Redskins. You know,
yeah.
Now redacted. Watch the redacteds.
All right, let's get to the Bengals here. I would love to. Philadelphia. They're coming up for one of the 2 Georgia players. I already know that. But sorry. This one's interesting. 2 picks for a second rounder. That's quality. I would take that potentially. And then Washington wanting a lot farther back. So for Cincinnati here, let's see how the roster matches up to my February 17th draft needs that I haven't gotten around to changing yet. I had guard as my number 1. They kind of got that done when they got Cody Ford, Lucas Patrick. We'll see. Linebacker. I still think linebacker is an issue because Jermaine Pratt still, I would assume, wants to trade out of there. Interior D line, not a big issue anymore. They re-signed BJ Hill. They signed TJ Slayton as well. So I don't think interior D line's as big of a need anymore. Edge rush, I think, is still a need, even with the re-signing of Joseph Osai. I still think they need more. They've had these guys that they drafted. Miles Murphy was a first-round freaking pick 2 years ago. They drafted Cedric Johnson the 6th last year, Cam Sample in the 4th and 21. They re-signed Joseph Osai this year, 21 third-round pick. But it's really about whether Trey Hendrickson goes or not. Like if he's traded, I mean, that jumps to the number 1, obviously. And then running back. I thought they needed more from the backup behind Chase Brown, but they signed Samaje Perine, so I kind of feel like running back's not a big need anymore when it was just Moss and Brown. But we really don't have any positions that I think they need per se. I don't know. What do y'all think of the board here?
I think the 2 Georgia guys make a ton of sense. Michael Williams, I'll start with him. We would just mention edge rushers being a need, especially with Trey Hendrickson. Did I say his name right? Hendrickson?
Yeah.
I got it right this week. I am going to just draft under the assumption he's not here long term. I think with the signings of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I just don't think they can afford him. And I think his time is running out in Cincinnati. Either this will be his last season in Cincy or he'll be traded. Michael Williams, I like a ton. I think he's probably up there with Abdul Carter in terms of just ceiling. I think he's fantastic at his position. I like him more than Pierce Jr. In this range. And I think he'd fit what the Bengals need on the defensive side of the ball really well. And then Malachi Starks, I think he's the best safety in this draft. I think, although it's not a glaring need, I think defensive backfield is an area of concern for the Bengals. It's never really been good in the entirety of Joe Burrow's career. I mean, it cost him a Super Bowl in 2022. I think Malachi Starks is huge value here. Although you did not mention them being too much of a need in the defensive backfield, I think Starks makes a ton of sense. I think he'd step in right away and be an impact safety. In terms of which one I prefer over the other, with the understanding that Hendrickson is gone, I'm going Williams. But for now, if the table had turned in some way and Hendrickson was able to be retained, I'd go Starks.
What about the trade back 2 spots with the Bucks for a second-round pick?
That's tough because when we drafted for the Buccaneers, I believe we went defense as well. I can't remember who it was. I don't have it in front of me, but I know. Oh, it was edge rusher, right? I know we drafted an edge rusher.
Yeah, we went Jalen Walker, technically a linebacker.
Jalen Walker, technically a linebacker.
What's the trade option with Tampa? You get a second?
Yeah, it's 19th and the second next year.
Yep.
So if they trade up, I 100% think Tampa is taking Mykel Williams right then and there. I don't know exactly who we're going to end up taking in Seattle. Seattle has a ton of needs, and they have a ton of draft capital.
I think the question comes down to, is there two guys that you two guys that you really like? Three guys that you really like. So if two go, you're guaranteed at least one of them with the trade back.
To be honest, I am okay with really any of these top defensive players. I know I said that secondary wasn't as big of a need. I think safety is more than corner if we are going to put that as a need. And I talked about the interior D line being not as much of a need, but I know a lot of people are high on Derek Harmon. And Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell would be fantastic. That would allow them to trade away Jermaine Pratt for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like the trade back and then best defensive player. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
As much as I like that, I hate putting ourselves in the position of having to wait for other people when we have the chance to take the guy we want. But then again, we're not the Bengals. We don't quite know what they want, but I'd hate to get the 19 and Starks and Williams are gone. I don't love Pierce. I think Harmon's good. And I think Jihad Campbell is good. I don't know. I hate the idea that we miss on Starks and Williams with, Buccaneers, who I 100% think are going to take Mykel Williams if we hit that accept button.
We do got to remember Jihad Campbell's coming off labrum surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimmy, you're outvoted. John and I want to trade. So.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Well, we're on the clock. Malachi Starks here. Okay, give me a sec, Packers. All right. So yeah, Malachi Starks went. John, before you go on your Seahawks rant, let me tell you what I got for Seattle, and see if you agree.
Okay, let's see.
So, number one need I had. Remember, this is February 17th, so a lot has transpired since then. Guard. It looks like still somewhat of a need. They have a lot of guys there that were drafted, so we will see. So because of the drafted guys, I don't know. I don't think you could really put guard anyways, and Tyler Booker is really the only first round guard anyways. Interior D line was my next one. But I like what they got. Kind of the depth is so in my mind. Wide receiver is definitely a need. I mean, Valdez, Scantling, and Cooper Kupp are a little bit over the hill, and they need more depth regardless. So they need the future guy that's going to run with JSN. Linebacker. Not a need really anymore with the re-signing of Ernest Jones. Not sold on the depth though, so definitely something eventually in the draft I think they need. And then tackle. They've just had the injuries, and they just have one young guy, Michael Jarrell, 6th rounder last year. But looking at the roster, I think those are pretty much the things I see. Safety looks like one that I would look to as well. I don't like the depth there at safety. Go ahead, John.
Honestly, Rusty, I don't think you're that far off. I chuckled when you said guard, because that is, I think, the glaring need. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of this roster can have upgrades, especially on the offense, but you cannot. Geno Smith, this is why I'm so upset that they traded Geno Smith away. If you watch the Seahawks games, the only reason that team was in it was because of Geno Smith and his ability to evade the pass rush. That offensive line was horrid. And over the last 10 plus years, the Seahawks have had a bad offensive line. Last year's might have been the worst one I've seen. And now they're entering the offseason. They got rid of Geno Smith. Did either of you watch the Packers game when Sam Howell had to go in and play behind that offensive line?
I saw a little bit. It was pretty
I don't
rough.
remember it, but yeah.
It was not very memorable. It was so bad. It was horrible. And I think that in itself was a snippet of what it looks like to have a non-Geno Smith quarterback behind that offensive line. So now you bring in Sam Darnold, who had a much better situation in Minnesota and is now put behind that offensive line. That's going to be horrible. So we were talking about this earlier. They missed out on pretty much every single legitimate offensive lineman free agent. And at this point, you're kind of SOL, unless you can get like a top tier guard who can start plug and play day one. I do have some optimism that with Clint Kubiak, they're going to be, putting the offensive linemen in better positions to succeed rather than stepping back and pass blocking 80% of your snaps. So there's hope there, but you can't just rely on, the offensive system change is going to make our O-line suddenly better. No, you hope that happens, but you need a guy. You need two guys. So that's a very long-winded way of saying you need. I wouldn't even say guard. I would say interior offensive line.
Yeah.
Because I think center, Oluwatimi had decent snaps, decent games, but I'm not. You could easily upgrade over him if he ends up being one of your best five. I feel like he could play guard. So I would generalize the guard spot to more of an interior O-line. And then I would say the second next need is right there still on the offensive line. It's going to be an outside tackle. You mentioned that as well. Abe Lucas, good when healthy. Honestly, elite when healthy, but the when healthy is a huge asterisk. So I don't think you can go into a season, or I would say it's dangerous to go into the season expecting him to start all 17 games. On top of that, Cross and Lucas, they're both entering contract years. So that in itself would scare me. So I think they lost Stone Forsythe, who, serviceable. No, not really. He wasn't that great, but, they brought in Josh Jones, who I think could start a game here or there. But I think bringing in another fresh blood help a lot, especially if they're one. And there's a lot of these guys out there who are tackle who can play inside. I think that might be that versatility might bump them up for Seattle, just considering that, in my opinion, their top two needs are interior line and then tackle. So those would be needs 1 and 2. Our defense, I'm not going to lie, I think is pretty set. The biggest need, I would say, all the needs on defense generally are just depth. Like I'd like another outside corner. I'd like another linebacker. I'd like another edge rusher, and I'd like another nose tackle. But all the starters in that spot, I would feel comfortable starting day one. The reason I would say safety would probably be your biggest need on defense is just because Mike McDonald likes to have a lot of 3 safety sets. So they just signed D'Anthony Bell out of Cleveland, and I think that's an intriguing signing. I mean, from what I've seen, is a very big special teams ace. Our special teams sucks last year, so that'll be helpful there too. But I think if you can get a good third safety in there, not to forget that Kobe Bryant is actually entering a contract year as well. I think they look to re-up him, but if you can draft a safety who acts as your safety 3 this year and then takes over the starting role, and maybe Kobe comes back on the 2-year or on a smaller contract to be your third safety, awesome. I think that's a good problem to have. And then I'm not going to go through the entire roster, even though it sounds like I have. I would say your next big need, I would go tie between quarterback and wide receiver. Rusty, I reiterate everything you say about the receiver. I think that pretty much nails it on the head. The only thing I'll add to that is I don't think when you're looking at a receiver, I think you want a guy who can, bring the safety over and then go down deep. You're not going to replicate what DK can do. He's a unicorn, but try and get that same just coverage shifted over to your side to open it up for your slot guys. But the reason I say quarterback, because I don't think you mentioned quarterback on your list, did you?
No.
The reason I mentioned quarterback, Sam Darnold, the way his 3-year deal structured, there's an easy out after year 1. I don't have the numbers exactly on me right now, but essentially it can come down to like a 1-year deal and you can get out. So if there's a quarterback you like, I'm not saying we'll see where we pick here in a second. I think that could be someone to come in, be the replacement for Darnold. And then also I think just raising your ceiling from Sam Howell also helps, because I don't know if Sam Darnold can play all 17 games behind this offensive line. I'm not predicting that he gets hurt, but it's football. That's what happens, So if you're actually caring about the future of this quarterback position, which is the most important position beyond a year-to-year basis, I think you have to consider quarterback in the draft. And I don't think I've ever said quarterback is a need for Seattle since I started paying attention to the draft like 15 years ago.
All right. Well, before we get into what the board shows, I didn't show y'all what we got trade-wise here. So Packers, it's not a bad deal. Move back 5 spots, pick up a second for a third, have 3 seconds in 6 picks in the middle in the second round. That would be kind of cool. Chargers, similar thing, 4, and you're getting one spot further down though in the second round. Still, I think it's good, and Jags, we're not entertaining that. So, to be honest, I like either of these ones because of what's on the board. It's so many defensive players at the top. While I would not be opposed to taking a guy like Jahad Campbell or Nick Emanwari, you see further down are where more of positions of need are. Josh Simmons at tackle, and Mick Egbuka, Luther Burden, Gray Zabel, I think would be fantastic.
Could you do me a favor and look at the offense? Like, can you do guard and center and tackle? Can you do all 3 at once? No.
No.
Okay, go to tackle. Because I haven't messed with this yet, this specific site, so I don't know what their rankings look like. What's their center rankings?
Yeah,
not that there's a first round center.
Yeah,
I kind of like the trade off options also. Jimmy, what do you think?
I like the Chargers pick. I mean, the trade,
Same.
because here's what I'm thinking, and I'm going to run this by all of you. I think you can, with how many draft picks Seattle has, I think you can address 2 birds in 1 stone. I think if you take 22 and Josh Simmons is still available at 22, you take him there. And then you take 2 of the 3 second-round picks you have, move up to get Gray Zabel, and maybe get more. I think that's a bold strategy, but I think it can be pulled off.
I love the idea. I think in an ideal world, if the board looks like this, Seattle trading back. Now, my big hesitation is in the real draft, who's going to be trading up, and who would they be trading up for at this spot? But if these are your options, I would love to take that Chargers pick also, and then hopefully, if the board falls the way I want, pick a trade up into the top of the second to get another guy.
When we
I might differ on the positions you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
However, I love where your head's at. Double O line, that would be amazing.
and Seattle is in one of those very rare situations where they can really pull off a big trade to go, into the late 30s, maybe mid 30s, and pick up a Gray Zabel, and also have Josh Simmons. And when we did the Chargers mock draft last week, we went with a cornerback. I do remember that we took Shavon Ravel, if I remember correctly. I think Chargers go defense probably first round. I don't think
I think with how it is right now, they're going Michael. They need edge rushed with the release of Joey Bosa, and only re-signing Khalil Mack to a 1 year. They're going to take one of the 2 edge rush.
Now I will say, what's the argument for Seattle sticking is I think Michael Williams would fit perfectly into that outside linebacker role. Where he stands up, he's primarily rushing the passer, but he's doing it more in space. outside the tackles. Similar to how I was saying, the offensive linemen, our 2 tackles aren't entering contract year. Boye Mafi's entering a contract year, and Derek Hall is just 1 year behind him. Uchenna Nwosu's hurt. He might not even be able to start the season. That came out this last week. So I think that outside – say again?
Lawrence is old.
Well, not even that. DeMarcus Lawrence, he's more so you're putting – I don't think you're standing him up. His hand's going to be in the dirt. So I think that more so for those like stand-up guys, Michael Williams could be the perfect addition to that front 7. But also I think James Pierce could do – I don't have that much of a distance between those 2 players. So that's also why I lean taking this trade with the Chargers, just with the hope and prayer that they're able to package picks up and move up again.
All right, we're going with the Chargers pick here. And what do you know, Michael Williams? What did I tell you?
So there goes the 2 guys I wanted to send. Told you we should have stuck and picked, man.
No, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't care.
Are you able to trade up in this service?
Yes, you can.
Awesome.
I'm taking James Pierce, though, with the Bengals. I think that's perfect. I was okay with either guy. James Pierce is a guy that can stand up or put his hand in the ground, and in Cincinnati, he's going to be asked to put his hand in the ground. So, yeah, I think that's beautiful, getting James Pierce for Cincinnati here. There's probably an argument for Simmons, but I like the value of Pierce.
I think you take the best defensive player, and I agree that it is Pierce.
Yeah. To me, it's either Pierce or Imanwari, but Pierce, I think, is higher.
Broncos going Nicky Manwari. Let me know if you want to stop here. Jahdae Barron. Or I forgot we're back on the board here. 4 for a third next year with LA.
I would not take that.
Another interdivision trade. That's an excellent trade.
That's insane.
What do you mean, John? You can get a second next year.
No, I agree with John here. I'm not double trading back.
I also don't like that I'm giving up 2 picks this year.
It's 1 pick.
No, because if he takes Josh Simmons, we split up.
But I'm also giving up, what was it, 147?
Yeah.
137. Yeah, I prefer to hold that just because I like to have an even amount of picks throughout the draft. If I lose 147, then I have a huge gap.
Oh my goodness.
I agree. And I don't want the Packers to take Josh Simmons. I don't, because Josh Simmons seems like a Packers pick.
Hold on, pull that trade up again. Because now that I say that,
you would go from
what was the other pick I'm giving them?
It's 22 for 23 in a second.
No, and I'm giving them 137.
I know. You would be waiting from 92 to 172.
Yeah, I stand by my statement.
But John, you can make up that trade. You can make up those picks by trading back in the second round.
But I don't necessarily want to be trading back in the second.
But you can trade back in the third round too. You got 2 picks.
I don't want to necessarily be trading back the entire time to be recruiting stuff. You know, last time Seattle traded back 2 times, you know who they picked? Malik McDowell.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why I'm against trading. Call it a fear or a PTSD, but I'd rather stick here and pick.
Yeah. Well, you got 10 picks, right?
Yes, I'm aware.
Rusty, we outvote you, man.
Whatever. What are we taking here?
Josh Simmons.
Hold up. My hesitation about taking Josh Simmons is, I mean, he's coming. We're assuming he's going to be back to pre-injury form, right? Yep. That's not a guarantee. And if Seattle, who needs all of this help on offensive line, and they already have an injury-prone tackle at Abe Lucas, do they want to take another injury-prone tackle? That's my fear there. Also, there's some interesting players available who I think, especially on defense. Can you scroll up a little bit? Who's above Siobhan Ravel? Jahad Campbell. I know he has, what was the injury? Was it AC sprain?
A labrum. Surgery. Yeah.
He should be back by
minicamp.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
So I think Jahad Campbell could play that similar to what I was talking about, Michael Williams and James Pierce, I think he could play that outside linebacker. I mean, when he was there to ask to pass rush, he looked really good. He was just behind 2 first-round draft picks at Alabama. So I think Jahad Campbell would be a serious consideration here. I also think Colston Loveland would be a serious consideration here, considering Kubiak's use of 12 personnel. I think Daniel Jeremiah mocked Loveland to Seattle at 18. So I think if you can get him at 26, who he's arguably one of the top 10, I think, honestly, this ranking has Loveland really low. So honestly, I'm looking at Campbell or Loveland over Simmons. What do you think, Rusty?
I know he's further down there, but if you're gonna go with a lineman, I would prefer to go with Gray Zabel. He's a guy that has the ability to play all 5. And I know there's maybe a concern about competition, but I think he proved himself well at the Senior Bowl. I watched him in person there. Pretty solid anchoring ability. I believe he's. Oh no, he's not. I don't know why I thought he was undersized, but yeah, I mean, he's a solid option. I like him probably over Josh Simmons because he doesn't have the injury concerns that Simmons does.
I agree. If you do take a lineman, I do like Gray Zabel.
And I'm a big Emeka Egbuka guy. I know we wanted a bigger dude.
I love him.
But
he would fill the exact same role that JSN has right now.
I know. Yeah.
I would love him for almost any other team.
Yeah, and with how many draft picks Seattle has, I think there's a ton of wide receivers with size that you could get in the later second round and even third round. I'm offensive line all the way, either Simmons or Zabel. I don't mind Loveland. I'm always cautious about taking tight ends in the first round. It feels like a luxury good.
Plus, I'm okay with the tight end room. Noah Fant, AJ Barner played very well as a rookie last year.
We love AJ Barner. However, Seattle was interested in Juwan Johnson, who plays a very similar type of style as Colston Loveland. I also would argue, is there a blue chip player available right now? Of all the blue chip options, I'm seeing Colston Loveland. That's where I rank. But if you guys are leaning line, which I think is probably the way that's going, I would go Zabel.
I would say if you want to do Loveland, you're definitely going to, in my opinion, do what I mentioned and wait until I pick 30, see if Zabel's still available, and then see if you can swing a trade.
I would love to see if Zabel is available around 31, 32. There's also Donovan Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking him now.
All right. Do we want to get ballsy? I'm saying let's go ballsy. Let's get Loveland and see what happens.
I love it.
Yeah, actually, the vote doesn't even matter, Jimmy, because it's John's discretion anyways. It's his team.
True.
That's
right. This is John's team.
But I feel like you can get a similar value to Zabel early in the second, possibly even at 50.
Yeah.
All right, we're going Loveland. Packers going Gray Zabel.
Saw that coming.
Thornton to the Vikings, Jimmy. Jahad Campbell to the Texans. Siobhan Revel, 49ers, 43.75 in a second. Falcons, Donovan Ezrawaku. Patriots coming up for Emeka Egbuka, 38.69 in a fifth.
That'd be a cool spot for him.
Tyleek Williams for the Commanders. Luther Burden to the Bills. Josh Simmons, the Chiefs. Walter Nolan to the Eagles. Love it. Jackson Dart to the Browns. Giants gun Jalen Miller.
Pause here.
I was good. Yeah, pause.
Pause. I don't think Donovan Jackson is going to go too much farther.
I know. Can you look at offensive guard rankings? And then can you look at offensive tackle rankings? I want to see if they have anyone who could slide in. Savaiinea.
Savaiinea.
And Marcus Bowe, honestly. 49.59, push tackle.
I love Jonas Savaiinea.
Yeah, I think I'm
Totally
okay
start.
crossing my fingers that Savainea's there.
Plus, man, hey, my boy Tate Ratledge.
I like Ratledge too. Honestly, I like Ratledge above Millum. It's interesting they put Millum as a guard on here. I think he will move inside, but
we'll see.
How about Derek Harmon still being available?
I know. Get Kenneth Grant too.
If the Bengals wouldn't have re-signed BJ Hill.
Also, what's up with Mike Green being so low? I think
know.
he's a top 15 pick, top 10.
Josh Connerly to the Jags, Azariah Thomas to the Raiders, Lions going Landon Jackson. That's fire.
Nice.
Bears and Marion Hampton.
It's a steal.
Mike Green to the Saints.
Solid.
Bears going Kevin Winston. That's a little high in my book.
That's a
Jags coming up for Kenneth Grant, 70, 88, and 107. Rams going Harold Fannin. Ben Morrison, Cowboys. Donovan Jackson, the Colts. Falcons going Xavier Watts. Cards, Carson Swessinger. Dolphins going Tate Ratledge. Dang. Bengals, sorry. Chicago, I don't like that one either.
I think Derek Harmon is too much of a value pick right here.
Yeah.
Plus, it fits a need.
Yeah.
I would take it.
And as a Seahawks fan, I'm sad because I would have picked Derek Harmon at 50.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the D tackle is not a massive need. With the re-signing of BJ Hill, they signed TJ Slayton. McKinley Jackson's going into year 2. So is Chris Jenkins. I mean, yeah. I mean, I get the value for sure. But we also have line here, right? I mean, the tackles are fine. We definitely need to draft depth there. The only one I would say would kill John and Savaiinea.
I mean, take who you need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with any of the linemen here because I think the Bengals need it regardless of position. Some of the guys that they have anyways aren't the youngest of guys. Ted Karras, Cordell Volson, Cody Ford. Not the Lucas Patrick, not the youngest of gentlemen. Orlando Brown is not either at this point in his career. But I don't know. Do you guys want to go Harmon? I mean,
what's the next? What's the Bengals' next pick? What number is it?
81.
81. I know there's a couple D linemen later in that position that I know we like. I know
it is a deep class.
Yeah, Norman Lott, I think, is the guy that comes to mind. He's a guy that usually goes late third. What's his name? Shamar Sanders, I think Texas A&M, if I remember correctly, is that his name?
Shamar Turner.
Turner, that's right.
Yeah, they got 2 Shamars at A&M, Stewart and Turner.
Yeah. So I think Harmon, obviously, I think is one of the best D tackles in this draft. But with already getting an edge rusher, I think D line is, well, the up front in general is not a position of weakness for the Bengals, and I think you could get a D lineman later. But guys like Ursary and Williams right here in a very good value pick, I don't think you could really pass up. So
I like Williams over Ursary, but again, my pick, if we're going O-line, would be Savaiinea. I think they need to get younger inside.
I think if you are going O-line, Savaiinea is the best option. of those available. Unless you really want that true stand-up tackle, then I go Ursery. So
yeah,
I think
my only issue with Ursery is he's a little big. He's 6'6".
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you really want an outside guy, it's Ursery. If you want someone who can move, Savanea. And I tend to value versatility. So that's why I would Savanea.
All right, we're going Jonas away now.
Mm.
Protect Joey B. All right, Seattle. John, we got Buffalo, 6 picks, a 4th for a 7. Not accepting that one for the Steelers. The Bills pick's not bad value. But
I don't think you let Harmon go. I know we talked a lot about him to the Bengals, but
I think
monster inside. 4-headed
I think
monster.
since you have a pick at 52, you could afford making the splash and going for Harmon. Can you go to the offensive line ranking again? I just want to check that again. So in this case, I'm sad Savanea is gone. I'm sad Donovan Jackson's gone. But the way I look at Millam and can you go to tackle Marcus Bowe, I think those would both be acceptable picks at 52. So just because of that and the fact that I picked just 2 picks after this, that's why I'm willing to go Derek Harmon. The fact that he's available here is, I think, crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
If this were to happen in real life, the question would be like, okay, is that due to injury? What's going on? But I mean, assuming it's a slide to be a slide, I would go Harmon here.
Honestly, it'd be the biggest slide since Warren Sapp in the 90s.
Broncos, they're going to go Alec Manor.
Nice.
They're back on the Seahawks. Sorry, Cleveland. Too far. Also too far for Chicago.
I also forgot we traded back and have 55 also. So this makes me quite excited.
Yes, sir. I like Cam Williams over Ariante Ursery. That's just me, though. I know you like Ursery.
If you're going line here, I prefer Marcus Bowe.
Marcus Embo?
Yeah.
You like Embo?
I like Marcus Bowe here to play inside. However, if you did want to go tackle like Ariante Ursery, you could have him possibly play right tackle. And I'm intrigued by the thought of possibly moving Abe Lucas to guard. Now you guys are going to laugh because I'm also intrigued by taking my big receiver here in Trey Harris. Can you pull him up? He's 6'2", 205. He plays with a physicality and an ironic replace an Ole Miss receiver with another Ole Miss receiver. I think this could be your big that you grab here. The question is, do you think Harris is going to be available at 55? I know Green Bay has a need for a big receiver, from my understanding. I think Tampa Bay could get a receiver to get younger. And Green Bay already picked a lineman, right? So the question would be, do you think Tampa would take a lineman? And even if Tampa did take a lineman, I think you still have Wyatt Millam, Marcus Bowe. I think you'd be guaranteed one of those guys. Or you can get one of those tackles and move Lucas to guard. So in sounding that out, I kind of lean Trey Harris here.
My only issue with Trey Harris, I know it shouldn't matter because I watched him play a bunch at Ole Miss this year, and he was fantastic. Especially, I think he had like a couple different 200-yard games. 4.5, 4.40, John.
Excuse me.
A little slow for a wide receiver.
4.45?
4.54.
4.54. That's fast enough. I feel like at a certain, this isn't like, if this was like pick 18, okay, maybe I want my receiver to be faster than that. But when I hear 4.54, that's fast enough to me. Mike Evans ran a 4.5. So considering it's pick 52, I'm not too worried about grabbing Trey Harris here.
All right. Jimmy, you have any comments, even though it's John's pick? So
I would go Ursery here, but I don't hate going wide receiver here.
Bucks. Oh, Saints coming up for Wyatt Millam. Princely Iman Mielen for the Packers. Give me a second. Here we go. Saints coming up 71-93, 184. Wow. Who does San Francisco? San Francisco wants to tackle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think here you gotta go O-line. That your stubbornness, my stubbornness of not taking O-line, you gotta grab them here because I think that there's a valley between who you can get here and who you can get in the third.
That's so funny that they're all right there. Embo 6'4", 6'5" for Cam Williams, 6'6" for Ursery. And then, the weight is also funny as well, with 331, 317 for Williams and 303 for Embo. So you got different options.
I lean Embo, especially now you're looking at those measurements. He's smaller. I think he would be able to. They're going to ask these guys to move. Zone blocking scheme. They're going to be asking these guys to move. So that's why I would rather go Embo. I think it's Marcus Bow. I think the M is silent. I might be incorrect. The reason I do not want Cameron Williams, I think it's been said multiple times he should have stayed back in school. But he decided to come out and he played inconsistent. He just has really intriguing size. So if you were going to go tackle, Ursery would be the option, but I still lean Bow just because of his versatility, and I think he would fit the need of guard over a tackle more so. That way you're not asking Lucas to move a position also. Though it's intriguing, I'd rather grab a guy, rookie, put him in at left guard and get to work.
Okay.
All right.
Bill's going JT to Imola. Deion Walker, Chargers coming up 86-92, 199 to Carolina. Cam Williams to the Texans. That's a big one. Darian Porter for the Falcons there.
How far do we let Ursery drop before the Bengals trade up?
Isaiah Bond.
Where are they picking at 81?
Like, is there someone at 81 that they would take? Oh, wait, no, they already took the tackle. Never mind.
No, so I
Do something into guard.
I like him as a guard. So. But again, the tackle situation is not dire with Brown and Mims. It's just they don't have any depth at all. So, I mean, I don't hate it, but I'm okay with just letting it go.
Darius Alexander is very underrated on this system.
I know he was a monster in Senior Bowl.
It's going to be a first-round pick, I would think.
Braden Swinson to the Commanders. Panthers coming back up 74-114 to Maxwell.
That makes sense. Hairston being alive is crazy at 62.
Quinton Judkins to the Chiefs. Kyle Kennard for the Eagles, back-to-back pass rushers. Caleb Johnson, the Giants. Jaden Higgins for the Chiefs. Browns going Jalen Noel, back-to-back Iowa State receivers. TJ Sanders for the Raiders. Lions going Andrew Makuba. Jets, Ariante Ursery.
Solid for them.
Tez Johnson to the Bucks. Emory Jones for the Bears. Xavier Restrepo to the Jets. Denzel Burke for the Bills. Barrett Carter for the Rams. Travion Henderson to the Cowboys. I hate to say it, but the Cowboys really crushed this one. Omar Norman Lott to the Patriots.
No.
Darius Alexander to the Cards. Alfred Collins to the Texans. D-tackle run here. Jack Besh to the Colts. We're on with the Bengals. Sorry, Tennessee. We got an edge. We got a guard. And I don't want to do that because we just drafted him last year. But I don't hate the first guy on the board.
I don't either, honestly.
LSU guy. They just re-signed Mike Gesicki, but I'm not a big fan of Drew Sample, and you just drafted Eric All in the 4th round last year, though, so that's my hesitation on that one. But I do like my Georgia boy, Jared Wilson. I know they drafted Matt Lee in the 7th. They got Ted Karras still, but to get the future center potentially, I don't think so bad.
Scroll down as well.
Love my guy Arroyo.
And who have they've taken Savane and Pierce, correct?
Yep.
So edge is not a need. I kind of like Mason Taylor there.
Yeah.
Honestly. If I'm not doing that, I'm trying to grab the best defensive guy there is, but you already have an edge. But yeah, just considering there's a lot of edges, maybe Shamar Turner, but I think Mason Taylor could come out as this draft's best tight
end. Jimmy?
I like Turner. I don't quite agree that he could be the top tight end. I think there's a lot of tight end talent in this draft. I lean more Turner. I don't think offensive weapons is something the Bengals need right now. They really need to make the trenches better. And even defensive backfield too. Like I like even Latham Ransom out of Ohio State makes sense. I don't like going this far into the draft with the Bengals and not addressing that defensive backfield, both in the corner room and the safety room. I don't think it's as good as they need it to be if they want to compete in the AFC North. As much as I like Taylor, I think he's very effective. I think Gesicki's good enough. I think they want to give more reps to Eric All. I don't know. I'm not sold on the idea that you need to give more weapons. I think Gesicki, All, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are great, and I think the running back room is pretty decent. Turner and Ransom make a little bit more sense here to me. I don't think you need a tight end in the third round here.
I think Jimmy's convinced me. I think I'm leaning Turner.
Why is no one on my idea of Jared Wilson? The hell?
I don't think it's a bad idea. Like I mentioned, they do need better trenches, but I like Turner a ton. He's a guy I usually take when the Vikings have pick 97, and he somehow makes it there. I don't hate Jared Wilson. In fact, I think he's very good. I just think defense is such a need for the Bengals. Turner makes sense. Even Latham Ransom makes sense.
He's a linebacker, by the way.
He kind of reminds me of Josh Metellus, just like a jack of all trades. Put him in wherever you need to in your formation, and he'll figure it out. Like he did that a lot in Ohio State, and I love how Josh Metellus is utilized in the Minnesota Vikings defense. And Ransom could be that guy if you develop him correctly.
All right, so am I outvoted? Are we going Shamar Turner?
What do we think of John?
If it had to be between Turner and Wilson, I think going into the draft, the Bengals need to just lean defense. So that's why I'd go Turner.
Yeah, I'll go Turner.
Tennessee really wants to come up for Mason Taylor. John, I know where we're going. I know what you want. I'm going to give it to you.
Who do you think it is?
Quinn Ewers, baby.
Here. Oh, no.
The taking, John. It is
not Quinn Ewers.
It's a Will Howard.
It is there.
I actually think Seattle's between the two players that were just discussed for Cincinnati in the last round. Your boy Jared Wilson at center, or Lathan Ransom. The reasoning being, I mean, as I was talking about earlier, Seattle's biggest need is O-line and O-line. We got Marcus Bowe earlier, so you could pencil him into left guard. And then considering how frustrating it's been in Seattle not doing anything in free agency for the interior offensive line, you need at least two guys to be plugging in there. And so maybe this is just the fan in me who, wants to be optimistic and not – I want to stop talking about offensive line for a little bit. I think if you're going to add two premier picks, like top day 2 picks at the interior O-line, that would be very helpful. It'd be kind of a stockpile of bodies, the recent draft picks on the interior O-line. That's not a bad thing. All right. You enter training camp and you're telling them, like, hey, 1 or 2 of you guys are getting cut. Doesn't matter if you were a draft pick or not. Maybe this year's picks would be an exception, but puts pressure on these guys to show up, perform, or get out, because it's not acceptable what this line play has been. So I think Jared Wilson would be a very shot to the veins, exciting pick for the Seahawks fans. But Lathan Ransom, God, that is a difficult name, Jimmy.
It's bad, man.
Lathan Ransom. Is it Ransom or Ransom?
I think it's Ransom, like
Lathan Ransom, just his jack of all trades. Value adding him as that third safety, as we talked about, could be a need. I think that's also very intriguing. However, I do think there's a lot of day 3 safeties that I think could be intriguing options. So
Julian Blackman's still available, for God's sake.
Julian Blackman. I like Caleb Ransaw out of Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
He could play nickel too if you wanted to move him and Devin Witherspoon around. Just puzzle pieces. But I think I trust McDonald to be able to make a good defense work with intriguing options on day 3. We need help on O-line. That's why I go Jared Wilson. That's where I go.
The only issue with Jared Wilson is he's a true center. Has not played guard before.
That's cool with me. Play him at center, play Bo at guard, and have Bo compete with Haynes, Laumea, Bradford, and have Oluwatini compete with Wilson and Sundell. And best 3 play. And if you're not good enough, you're going to get cut.
Yeah. Oh man, you already made the pick. I was about to push back. I was going to say the one
John
issue.
Wanted it. It's Seahawks.
I got it. I was wondering if I can convince him.
What were you going to say, Jimmy?
There's one thing that worries me about Jared Wilson. It's his size. I'm going to read off a certain NFL center. What was that?
He's 6'3", 313.
You know who also is 6'3" and about 300 pounds? Garrett Bradbury.
Oh, my goodness.
Jason Kelce was 5'11". He'll be okay.
I don't know. I worry about undersized centers because the Vikings
is not undersized.
I wouldn't say 6'3" is undersized. I think Garrett Bradbury just sucks.
1 or below is undersized, I think, for center.
I even argue, because the same thing comes up with defensive tackles, I argue when you're on the inside of that D line or O line, if you're short, you can get underneath guys. Aaron Donald was shorter too. I mean, he was a maniac in so many ways, but his ability to get under guys and win that leverage battle can often be helpful.
Well, there's recency bias as well with Braden Fisk. So,
good point. Braden Fisk too.
All right, let's see what the rest of the draft has because we're out of picks. Jalen Royals for the Steelers. Interesting. Jared Ivey for the Bucks. Broncos going Chris Paul.
I'd like to see Scatabo in Denver.
Panthers, Ashton Gelati. Oh. Savion Williams for the Packers. Jets going Elijah Arroyo. That's a home run. Dylan Fairchild for the Texans. I also really like that one. Zy Alexander for the Rams. Terrence Ferguson for the Falcons.
Wow. Above Taylor.
Lathan Ransom for the Panthers. Loading up on safeties this year. Dorian Strong for the Bucks. Aronde Gadsden to the Browns. That's too high. Jordan Burch for the Chiefs. Holland Pierce to the Eagles.
I like Gadsden.
Quincy Riley for the Vikings. Anthony Belton to the Dolphins. Gunnar Helm to the Giants. Jackson Slater. For the 49ers, Rams going Josiah Stewart. And the Lions finishing out with Josh Farmer. Mason Taylor never got picked, John.
That's wild.
All right. So this is what we got. We got the Bengals moving back 2 spots. Picked up a second rounder next year from Tampa. Get James Pierce. We got Jonas Savai-Nea in the second round. Shamar Turner in the third round. Seahawks ended up with 5 picks, just like they started, just 3 seconds instead of 2 in the second, 2 in the third. Traded back a couple spots. Got Colston Loveland. You got Derek Harmon at 50 with the value pick. Trey Harris at 52. Marcus Embo, the other pick that they got from the Chargers, traded away 92 and 18. Marcus Bowe, if John is correct, who knows? And then Jared Wilson, go Dogs, 82.
I like this draft first 2 days for the Seahawks because now you enter day 3. I believe with like 5 or 6 more picks.
Yeah, they'd have 5 because they didn't lose any picks here.
Gotcha. So with 5 more picks, and your need, I would say your needs still are quarterback. But Ewers is available. I think did Shuck get taken or Dart?
Dart and Milrow, everyone else is available.
So I would possibly look at Shuck with your first pick in the next pick. Running back is such a deep class. You'll get a dude in the 7th round. But you've addressed the line. You don't have to worry about the line. You don't have to worry receiver, tight end. The rest of these picks can just be best value defender and address your depth because you've already gotten your defensive tackle that you needed. So
John,
it puts you in a good position.
It's kind of funny that you talked about that gap that you don't like in the picks. Well, you're going to be waiting a while, 82 to 137, because
I know
to the Chargers. But yeah, that's the only issue with the Seahawks picks on day 3 is they're all mostly in the back end with the 4th and the 2 5ths being all compensatory picks, and then the 2 7s. So.
Yeah, in an ideal world, you would be able to fill that gap up, but I think the way this draft ran, there were some guys you couldn't let slide by trading back again. It all depends on how the board runs. I think it all got Shadur going to Dallas through everything for a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're Cincinnati, you got 3 picks. They do not have a 7th, so 4, 5, and 6 left for them. I really liked the first 2 for Cincy. I was not as big of a fan for the 3rd pick as you guys were. That's just because I was on the O-line train to protect Joe Burrow, even though the defense was not good last year. But I get it. It's fine.
Before I hop off, I have a few. I was at the UNM, University of New Mexico Pro Day today. There's not really any legitimate guys. I feel like you guys would appreciate these stories. That's why I'm bringing it up. However, we had a starting corner last year. He was out of eligibility. You guys do you know about the JUCO rule? How a lot of guys got an extra year. Is it Diego Pavia? So he was possibly going to get that, but the NCAA denied it. Would have had to extend his clock. So he decided to run a track meet and came in first. He had trained for track for a week, came in first. So now this is our starting corner. He's out of eligibility. He goes to the pro day. The way he ran the 60-yarder, 60-yard race, it would have timed out to like a 4.45, 4.41, 40, right? This guy came out, ran a 4.31, and had 20 bench press reps. Really good day. So he could be a potential look. If you guys don't know Cam Watts, that might be an interesting name for a undrafted free agent. Do you guys know about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt?
Yes, sir. Balled out at the East-West Shrine Bowl. I watched that.
I want to hear he didn't perform at the pro day. He's at Arizona. So he was at the Big 12 one, I believe, then. I want to hear non-biased opinion about that running back. What do you guys think about him?
Like I said, he balled out the East-West Shrine Bowl. When I watched the game anyways, I wasn't able to watch any of the practices, but because it was the same time as the Senior Bowl. But, I watched the game, though, and I mean, he had 2 touchdowns. He looked electric on the outside, and his second touchdown, I believe, was the one where he powered through the middle. So it looked like he was able to do it all. I don't remember seeing a lot of receiving work, though.
He got MVP of the Shrine Bowl, correct?
Yeah.
See, I feel like, where do you project him? Day 3?
Mm-hmm.
Around 6, 7, you think? Or only ranking I see about him is on PFF, and they have him in the 5th, which I feel like is a little rich.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably be a 5 through 7 guy somewhere in there.
Okay. Jimmy, what do you think?
I agree with what Rusty. I lean more undrafted free agent just based on how many guys at his position there are. that will probably just be taken before. That
That's what
by the
worries
time you
me
get to the
most.
5 through 7, guys are probably not going to double up on that position. But UDFA makes sense for where he kind of projects.
I think what hurts him is that he got his entire senior year basically robbed.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
he only played in one game and then had to get benched. But that one game against UNM killed us. He looked crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Last point about the pro day I wanted to bring up today. Quinshaw Judkins. I met one of our beat reporters today, and he was at I think he was at the Shrine Bowl, I want to say. Or yeah, he said he was at the Shrine Bowl and he was talking to Eddie George. And when he was talking to Eddie George, he asked him, who do you think of all the running backs in this class has potential to be the best? Like when it's all said, not who do you have ranked number one, like who do you think is the best running back 5-7 years from now? Who do you guys think he said?
Quinshawn Judkins.
Yeah, did I already bring him up?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and he said Quinshawn Judkins, so I thought that was interesting.
I like him a ton.
From Eddie George himself, you know?
Yeah. I like Judkins a ton. He's a guy that I kind of hope the Vikings somehow end up with, even with trading for Mason and retaining Aaron Jones. I think he's a freak of nature. I mean, I've seen the tapes of him basically just working out in the weight room, and he's a freak. Like, that is just
and he ran much faster than people thought.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't used as that like speed back because he had Henderson. But I'd like to see the Raiders pick up one of those Ohio State backs, reunite him with Chip Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone says Ginty to the Raiders at 6, which I also would love. I love Ashton Ginty. But I think it could make more sense for the Raiders to go, honestly, Armand Membo at 6 and then grab an Ohio State running back in the second, top of the second. Get the best lineman in the draft.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back now to I know, John, you're probably going to leave with the UFL preview here, but
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir. So this is the first game on Friday. We're not going to talk in depth about this game, but I will go through, talk about a little bit of the roster and what I see. You know me, Jimmy. I base a lot of stuff on quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be kind of where I'm at. Plus coaching staff obviously factors in as well. But I was already just looking at who I see quarterback-wise on these teams. And I don't have the depth charts filled in here yet, but I do have my roster sheet up. So, and I know I've heard some of who's going to start at quarterback wise. Just strictly looking at quarterback, I mean, you have to think Birmingham is number one, obviously. I mean, they've won 3 championships in a row, 2 of those in the USFL. They won the inaugural UFL championship last year. So you got to think Skip Holtz and the Stallions are going to factor mightily into how this whole thing shakes out in 10 weeks. But and they return a ton of guys for sure. They added some as well. New kicker there, Harrison Nevis, and that could be a factor potentially. But that kid was a bomber at Missouri. But I like. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at quarterback. Alex Magoo and Matt Corral both back. Case Cook is the 3rd string guy as well. They got their whole running back room back. A little bit different wide receivers, but pretty much the same. Davion Davis, Samari Rogers, Deion Kane, Austin Watkins, Marlon Williams, all back. Jay Sternberger. The tight end room is the exact same. I think they returned most of the roster from last year. And I mean, and then defensively is where they really added the most. You look at, they got Tay Crowder, Kiava Tizino. They got NFL guys like Myjai Sanders, Ronnie Perkins, Perry and Winfrey, Bradley Anai. So they got some NFL talent. Mario Goodrich and Rashad Wildgoose they added at corner. Faion Hicks as well. And then at safety, they added Trey Norwood, which I really like a lot. Used to play for the Steelers last in 2022. So I think Birmingham's got to be number one for sure. In terms of second ranked, I might go with San Antonio. Quarterback wise, I would say Arlington is second for sure. They're returning Luis Perez, who is the quote unquote king of spring. They got Davion Smith back, Day Hunter, Kalen Balaj at running back. Really like those guys. The wide receiver room is pretty much the same exact thing. Sal Cannella returns at tight end. Different line combinations, of course. Defensively, I really like they got Donald Payne still, Story Jackson. The pass rush, I think, is a little bit of a question mark. I like their secondary, though. So I'd probably put Arlington second, just to see, because I'm forgetting on what the divisions look like here. Okay, so yeah, the USFL and the XFL. So yeah, Arlington, I'm probably putting as number one. The XFL, Birmingham number one, and the USFL. Obviously, I'll put all these on the PowerPoint for Friday. The next team I'm looking at, though, I know it's it's a interim head coach in Shannon Harris, but my DC Defenders, I'm telling you, I think they're primed for a bounce back. They changed the roster around a little bit. Jordan Ta'amu, I'm still a big believer in him at quarterback. They added Spencer Sanders as well. And they have Mike DeLello as both undrafted last year. But I'm telling you, I really like Jordan Ta'amu. And the biggest thing, he's going to get a running game this year. Abram Smith is back from the torn ACL he had prior to last season. So he is back 100%. And even if he's not quite full go in the beginning here, they signed Deion Jackson, who's a veteran in the NFL. So I like those guys. They added Cornell Powell to the wide receiver room. I think that's going to be fantastic. Mason Fairchild, they added at tight end. I like him. And then defensively, they kind of kept it status quo for Greg Williams' squad. They brought back a bunch of guys. They didn't really add a ton. In the secondary, they did, though. Michael Ojamadia and Kelvin Joseph all both added. Willie Drew as well. And safety, they didn't really add a ton there. Bryce Thompson, they added there. Used to play for the Seattle Sea Dragons in the XFL. But yeah, I like DC as my third team. My fourth team is Michigan. They were scrappy last year. So DC, I have second in the XFL. Michigan, I have second in the USFL conference. Bryce Perkins, more than likely going to be your week one starter here, with Danny Etling probably close behind. They also got Rocky Lombardi there. Yeah, the running back, Matt Colburn, returns there. I like the wide receivers are pretty solid. Cole Hicatini, big ad there. Or he's been there, I should say. Jalen Weidermeyer, though, they added him, former Texas A&M Aggie. Big one on defense, they added Walter Palmore, big man in the middle. They added Ron Stone Jr., undrafted guy out of Washington State last year. They got your boy, Kenny Willekes.
Oh, yeah. Practice squad legend.
They got Frank Ginda back in the fold after he played with the Chargers last year. Then, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like this squad here. Defensively, they're going to be a beast. New kicker, though, for them, BT Potter, coming out of Clemson in 2023. San Antonio is my third one in the XFL. Or I think, let's see, it's probably close. Yeah, I have to think San Antonio. No, you know what? I'm going to go St. Louis. I'm going to go St. Louis as third in the XFL because of the quarterback. So San Antonio, they're starting your boy, Jimmy. They announced Kellen Mond as
Let's
the
go.
For Wade
Mike
Phillips'
Zimmer's
spot.
favorite quarterback, baby.
Yeah, so San Antonio is going to start Kellen Mond. They also have Kevin Hogan and Jarrett Garantano. I think that's one of the weaker QB rooms in the UFL. St. Louis, I also am not a big fan of the QB room, but Manny Wilkins likely going to be the starter there. Sat behind AJ McCarron for a couple years. It's crazy that AJ McCarron's still not signed by anyone. But Max Duggan also expected to potentially weigh into this QB battle. Chevin Cordero as well there, but they still had the man. Jacob Saylor's the beast at running back. And they added at wide receiver. They got Denzel Mims this offseason to add to Hakeem Butler and Ja'Cour Pearson. Frank Darby has played in the league. Sam Wiglusz. I love Sam Wiglusz from Ohio. They got Mr. Eminem himself, Jerome Kapp, from Kutztown University in Pennsylvania here. So yeah, I really like the wide receiver room. Probably maybe one of the best wide receiver room in the UFL. Defensively, I'm not sold on the D line though. The interior D line, anyways, in the 3-4. Austin Faulu, probably the best interior guy there. Love the edge rush though. Carson Wells, Pita Tumapenu. They got Mike Rose at linebacker. Travis Feeney at outside, Willie Harvey at inside, Chris Garrett. Their linebacker room rivals anyone else in the league. And yeah, my boy, Rodrigo Blankenship, new kicker in St. Louis this year. So I'm excited to watch Rigo back in football. So yeah, St. Louis is the third in the XFL, and the fourth in the XFL. I'm going with San Antonio there. Just because, again, I think San Antonio probably the weakest QB room in the XFL. I do like the running back. They added Ja'Shawn Corbin this offseason. They brought back Anthony McFarland, who's been fantastic before. They have solid wide receivers: Greg Ward, Jontre Kirkland, Marquez Stevenson. Justin Smith has been pretty solid. They also added Kawan Baker, NFL experience with the Saints. I like Alize Mack at tight end there. Defensively, I'm not so sold. The D-line's decent. I like Beckett and Jordan Williams at linebacker. They added, though, in the secondary, Greedy Williams coming in this, and Darius Phillips. Big ads for the St. Louis corner and secondary group. I like Henry Black at safety as well. And, of course, destroying back from his fractured neck from last season that he had early in the year. And then the last two teams on the USFL side are the Memphis Showboats and the Houston Roughnecks. I'm going to put Memphis above Houston. Again, it's pretty much the quarterback thing. E.J. Perry, the starter for the Michigan Panthers last year, he will be interim head coach Jim Turner's week one starter, I believe. They do return Troy Williams and NFL experience Dresser Wynn as the third quarterback. Running back situation is a lot different this year. Jacob Kabodi, who balled out with the Saints in the preseason last year. He was also with the Browns. Deneric Prince as well. Played with the Chiefs a little bit. The wide receivers are changed. Jay Adams is still there. They add Isaiah Henney, who's going to give them a massive boost in special teams, probably the best punt returner in the league. Not really liking the tight end room that much. Ryan Izzo, J.J. Wilson, the top two there. Defensively, I love it, though. They got Boogie Roberts. Nasir Player is a beast. Josiah Bronson, P.J. Hall. Those four are probably your top four there. They added Antoine Jackson from the Battlehawks. The linebackers are very, very young, except for Obi Melifonwu, who they list as a linebacker. But other than that, it's very young. Steel Chambers and Yavandi Rigby, both undrafted guys this past season, both were with the Patriots in training camp. The secondary I like, though, Cam Dantzler, Jaquan Shepard, Eric Garr. They add those guys to Mark Gilbert and Kyrie Woods, Nehemiah Shelton at corner. Keaton Ellis, my Penn State guy. They added Eli Walker as well. Tenny Adewusi. So I really like the secondary here for Memphis. And I think big thing for them, special teams wise, they return all three of their core guys. They're Matt Coughlin, the kicker, Matt Mengel, the punter, and Turner Bernard, the long snapper. So they're my third team in the USFL conference. And then last one is going to be Houston. I think they have the worst quarterback situation in the league. Out of the three guys, Anthony Brown, Nolan Henderson, Jalen McClendon. I have to think it's either going to be McClendon or Henderson. I'm leaning toward McClendon probably being the guy. I have no clue, though. Haven't looked at the depth chart. But I do not like that quarterback room at all. Zaquandre White, bringing him in at running back, probably going to be the best guy. Kirk Merritt also returns. Justin Hall's pretty solid at wide receiver. Reggie Roberson as well. Emmanuel Butler, Kiki Chisholm. Josh Peterson, they brought in him. Love him at tight end. But I just don't believe in this Houston roster, man. I mean, it's not great. Olivier Sagapolu at D tackle. I love that guy though. Other than that, I'm not sold on most of the guys. Fidel Brown they got from the DC Defenders when they cut him. I do like the linebackers, JT Tyler, Marvin Moody, Drew Lewis as well. And secondary, so Corn Elder, maybe the best guy there. Damon Arnett as well. Markel Roby at safeties. I like him. And of course, I mentioned Chris Blewett, the new kicker there. Also, new punter this year as well for Houston, Mike Rivers, undrafted in 23 out of Troy. New long snapper as well, Marco Ortiz out of Nebraska, undrafted this past year. So that's how I see it. USFL conference, I got Birmingham, Michigan, Memphis, Houston. XFL conference, I got Arlington, DC, St. Louis, San Antonio. Talk more about that on Friday, but yeah. And that is the show for today. Next week will be UFL week 2. I will not have a sling yet, but that is coming. Dolphins Colts mock draft. And of course, we'll get you all your NCAA NFL news. And of course, on Monday, we'll have games to talk about. UFL week 1 this weekend. So we will have 4 games to talk about on Monday's show. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at FAA.podcast. We will see y'all back for Football Friday.